Michaela Kiersch is sending an astonishing number of double-digit boulders. Lee Sung-soo, Naoki Shimatani, and others are ticking off iconic climbs up to V15 or 8C. And all of this is taking place in the world-famous Rocklands, South Africa. My name is August. Welcome to August Climbing. In today's video, we'll get into a bit of background about Rocklands as a bouldering destination and talk about a few different climbers who are totally crushing it there right now. Stick around until the end for a note about a famous sport climbing crag. We may be seeing some very hard ascents coming out of there pretty soon. And we've also got sport climbing kicking off at the Olympics on August 5th. I am super excited about that, as I'm sure you are too. I will be making videos during the Olympics to give you a concise way to keep up to date on each day's climbing events. It will also be a space where you can come and geek out on results, predictions, etc., with like-minded climbing enthusiasts. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on that. Rocklands is located in South Africa and is one of the world's most renowned bouldering destinations. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to think of a more iconic bouldering area except perhaps Fontainebleau in France or Bishop in California. Rocklands is situated about a 3-hour drive north of Cape Town and boasts thousands of boulder problems all the way from newbie to elite level climbs. Perhaps it has also become known around the world thanks to its striking orange sandstone blocks set in a scenic desert-like environment. In other words, if you're a climber, Rocklands produces great content for the gram. All kidding aside, let's jump right in and talk about a slew of ascents coming out of Rocklands recently. Starting off with Michaela Kiersch, who is blowing our minds with her sheer volume of double-digit sends, i.e. V10, 7C+, or harder. Since July 9th, she's been posting on Instagram about her time in Rocklands, talking about double-double days or even triple-double days where she'll consistently send 2 or 3 double-digit boulders in the same day. As it stands, Michaela has posted about ascents of at least 8 V11 8A boulders, 2 of which were flashes. Her hardest send by grade so far is called Quintessential V13 or 8B, and she's alluded to 2 new projects she's working on that could be even harder. I think it's very likely we'll see a V14 send for Michaela on this trip, or perhaps even her very first V15. One of my favorite posts for Michaela is this one from July 14th, when she says, "The Hatchling V11 8A, such an incredible moment for me to flash this boulder after years of fangirling over photos and video. Absolute stunner. And arguably the most iconic climb in Rocklands. If you disagree, please comment below so I can add more boulders to my list." Now, the Hatchling is indeed an iconic climb in Rocklands, but I would argue that the Rhino beats it out as the most iconic climb there. It's hard to match the aesthetics and the instantly recognizable profile of the Rhino. But then the Hatchling is a pretty magnificent looking piece of rock as well. Now let's talk about Lee Sung-soo, who recently sent Nale Hukativals the finish line V15 or 8C and 3 other V15s as well. Let's first talk about one of those classic V15s called Monkey Wedding. This was first ascended by Fred Nicole in 2002 and originally graded V14, but subsequent ascensionists upgraded it to V15. After that first ascent in 2002, it didn't see another ascent until Paul Robinson sent it in 2010, and then each of the 2 following years saw Adam Andra and Daniel Wood send the problem as well. And then recently, Lee Sung-soo added his name to this Rocklands test piece, posting on June 25th, Monkey Wedding V15, this is only the beginning. Shortly thereafter, Lee snagged an ascent of Spray of Light V15, a 2015 first ascent by Daniel Woods. And Lee said that completing this boulder gave him, quote, a license to try the finish line. And that leads us to July 6th when he posted on Instagram the finish line V15, first ascent Nale Hukataival, one of my dream boulders ever. When I was young, I saw Nale's video on YouTube, and it was so impressive to me. This boulder was always inside the boy's heart. That boy grew up, his dream finally came true. The finish line is one of the most striking lines in Rocklands. It's this highball masterpiece with highly intricate and technical moves that work up this imposing arête. Since its first ascent by Nale in 2017, it has continued to attract some of the world's most elite climbers. On a side note here, I'm curious what Finnish climber Nale Hukataival is up to these days. It would be interesting to hear his thoughts on some of these repeats coming out of the Rocklands, and of course repeats of Burden of Dreams. I have not seen any media or climbing news about Nale in recent times, and I can respect if he simply wants to stay out of the limelight. It's not like he owes the climbing community any updates, but it would be amazing to hear from him if he chose to do so. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well, but for now, let's move on. Lee posted his full tick list here, which also includes the Smile V15, a 2018 first ascent by Giuliano Cameroni, for a total of 4 V15s on this trip. And that's a successful bouldering trip if you ask me. And now Zach Galla has recently been bouldering in Rocklands. He shared a post as well about monkey wedding, though it wasn't immediately clear if he had sent it or if he was simply working on the problem. He did, however, joke that he was only 2 years old when Fred Nicole made the first ascent in 2002. So there you go. A whole nother generation now of young climbers are trying out these iconic lines. We'll keep an eye out for additional Rocklands ascents by Zach Galla. Next up, we have Naoki Shimatani. He's also projecting the finish line, having spent at least 13 days on it so far. But what he did send recently is a problem called G-Master. This is a V15 or 8C, which is a first ascent from Vadim Timonov from July of just last year. It involves an alternate entrance into the Boulder Problem guest list, which is V13 or 8B. Naoki had this to say about G-Master on Instagram. I had been wanting to climb this route ever since seeing the article about Vadim Timonov's first ascent last year. I was unsure if the intense cross move would be within reach, but somehow managed to deal with it. In the second half of the guest list 8B section, I fell several times. It was a mental battle, but I am happy I was able to finally send it. We've got one other boulderer to talk about, and that is Nils Favre. Or is it Favre? I'll talk about 2 of his recent sends in Rocklands. The first is of the legendary Amandla V14 or 8B+. This boulder was first climbed by Fred Nicole in 2005 and has since become a real test piece for anyone visiting the Rocklands. It climbs up an overhanging face on tiny crimps, requiring a lot of precision and, of course, finger strength. Amazingly, on the Sengo, Nils was just trying to link some moves and had planned to come back later for a proper send attempt. But here's what he said on Instagram. I surprised myself doing move after move, and suddenly I reached the good crimp in the middle of the wall. I didn't try the second part. I didn't even touch the hold on the lip, so I had absolutely no idea if it was good or not. And he was even climbing in the dark at this point. I just committed 100% to the lip and managed the mantle. I was on top of a mandala after less than 10 tries in about 45 minutes. Super experience on this one. It was really cool to have this feeling in such a historical climb. I'm still really impressed that Fred Nicole had the vision to climb such lines back then. Nils also made a super impressive flash of Moon Shadow V13 or 8B. Check out the middle sequence here. It's got this long throw with the right hand, and then this like 180 move that turns into a 360. There's almost like this bat hang component, this wild heel hook. And it's pretty insane to be able to think of doing those moves on the first go. Now, if any of you have been to the Rocklands, I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. And as promised, we may be seeing some very hard ascents soon, coming out of this time a world-famous sport climbing destination of Flatanger in Norway. Jorge Diaz-Rulo arrived there recently, posting on July 20th, "Just being here is a dream come true. Being able to try the hardest routes in the world makes it an even more exciting trip." Then on July 24th, Jorge shared, "I've always dreamed of just being in this movement. Finally, here I am, looking for my way to go up there. Many projects here in Flatanger, but do you know which route I'm talking about?" And this is him working on a route called Change, 9B Plus or 515C, which was first ascended by Adam Ondra in 2012. Change has also seen ascents by Stefano Gazolfi and Seb Bois, and perhaps Jorge will be able to add his name to that list very soon. Seb Bois was also in Flatanger recently, working on a project called Move Integral. It appears that he's taking a break now to train for a few days, but hopefully we'll see him back out there again very soon. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is August, and I'll catch you again soon.